Do I click continue? Hi, welcome to Humanities Soiree. My name is Lilia Fontana. I taught humanities for over 20 years at Miami-Dade College and Strayer University, with Strayer University's headquarters is in Washington, D.C. And Strayer is basically more online than anything else, except I'm kind of new to Zoom. I'm a curator, art critic, and photographer, and I'm also the executive director of Firehouse Projects, a local nonprofit organization since its inception in 2007. Firehouse Projects promotes professional and emerging talent and brings this talent to various communities in South Florida. My interest and topic is the role of art in human life, dating back to cave dwellers. The word art as defined by the expression of human skill and imagination. We have gone from primitive humans making a flute out of a bone to today's flute, the music that it produces. It's the same need of human beings during the cave time as today. We have a need to create sound, to create images like in the cave paintings, the very skillfully painted animal cave paintings, to modern art and its abstractions today. So these advances and evolutions collectively have become the various culture from around the world. Today I would like to introduce to you Kirk Whipple from Kirk Whipple and Marilyn Morales, a husband and wife team of dual pianists, composers, and educators. They have traveled the world performing in concerts. They present master classes, they present master classes and other educational activities at home and abroad. The Unconservatory Festival Orchestra, also known as the UFO, was formed by the Whipple Morales duo in Miami in 2004. Their critically acclaimed recording, Danzas para dos pianos y orquesta, or Dances for Two Pianos and Orchestra, garnered Kirk Whipple as a prestigious individual artist fellowship from the state of Florida for his original compositions. This video that we're going to see shortly was recorded in a live performance in 2008 at Shell Point in Fort Myers, Florida. Here, the duo and their colleagues performed the first movement from Johann Sebastian Bach's Concerto for Two Pianos and Orchestra in C major. So please enjoy this amazing video.
Estoy trabajando. Así que bye.
Well, that was wonderful. I wish I had supersonic speakers to really enjoy the whole full sound of it. It's kind of, at least to me, there's nothing like live performance anyways, or seeing real art versus reproductions in books, etc. It would be great, I think, if I'm going to invite Kirk to speak, and we're going to ask him some questions, to say the link of where people can go to hear your music, original music, and your performances, especially the link to that one particularly. They probably will have a better experience, better sound. Well, in going back to the idea of cave people and the need that seemed to be a need to do art and to play music in a very primitive way, linking that to modern man and the need to perform and create. Kirk Whipple, what do you think is your motivational factor to write and perform your music?
Well, that's a few days of discussion. But I should say too, listening to that video like that underscores the need at some point to get us back into live performances.
Yes.
Something for anybody who's watching this to think about. I mean, if your experience in listening to that recording was anything like mine was, it's exponentially less powerful and interesting than being in the hall. Give you an idea of that performance environment. We performed there several times at Shell Point. There were about, I want to say, 800 people in attendance. It was packed, and fortunately, nothing we could do right now during this time. And we had 2 Steinway concert grands that were in excellent tune. The orchestra that, I mean, I heard it sort of cutting in and out on the sound. brilliant string players. The UFO actually consists of more players, but I get to credit them. It was Michael Jorgensen and Brooke Alford on violin, Nicole Wendell on viola, Sergio, a Serb, on bass, and David Eccles on cellist, all phenomenal performers in their own right. And the sound on stage was amazing. And it's, if anything, this is kind of a sales pitch for people to get into live performance venues when they can, because like you said, you're getting this from whatever speaker, perhaps an iPhone or an iPad, and there's background noise going on. And one of the motivations that we have to get people into concerts is, think about this, everybody who's listening to this, that right now you could turn this off, you could go tie the kid's shoe, you could go stir the pot and miss half of what we're saying and come back, we'll still be here doing what we're doing. But in a concert environment, you actually have to physically get out of your house, at least walk down the street, get in your car, and that act of disconnecting from your daily life so that you can do something, pour your whole existence into experiencing art. For example, going to a museum, it's the same thing. Being able to be in front, 3 feet away from a Rembrandt is, again, exponentially more satisfying than seeing it pop up on your computer screen. Right. And while you're in the concert itself, you if something isn't quite to your liking, you don't just flip the channel. You can't all of a sudden put on a football game and then come back and catch the exciting climax. And this builds character amongst arts appreciators, because frequently we find that art of any kind at first challenges us. I mean, you have to learn how to like a few things, and then guess what? You learn that you can't live without them. Hence, that was one of our inspirations to call our organization the Unconservatory. All these first things happen with art. They're unknown, they're uncanny, they're uncommon. And then later, after we get to appreciate their value, we want to conserve them. We want to preserve these wonderful creations that people work so hard on in their lifetimes. And Bach, people frequently ask, if you could take one book on a deserted island, I would say, well, if my wife wasn't there, a book that had all the collected works of Bach, and then it'd be getting to learn just that tip of the iceberg that are all the wonderful arts that we have. There's so much more Bach I wish I had time in my life to play. So at any rate, I just hope that if anything, people who listen to those 9.5 minutes, by the way, I applaud you sticking through what's actually kind of a difficult listening experience.
Yes, it kind of was, unfortunately, and we did have those empty gaps. Now that we heard the Bach and your explanation of what you would like to see in a deserted island, would you say he was one of your biggest influences?
Oh, sure. And but to say that he was the only. It's this is a big year for Beethoven. It'll be his 250th birthday in December. Chopin just had his 210th birthday. We have Schumann, and I mean the list goes on. I've really been fortunate. People call us classical pianists. Well, classical pianist actually covers hundreds of years of musical experience. And I kind of prefer to think of myself as a world musician. And one of our mottos is from Bach to rock, and everything in between. Each age has its very, very valuable listening experiences. Great artists, great composers. And I think perhaps the thing I've been most fortunate is to have an open mind and have been ready to work on things that I've been interested in. Prokofiev, Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Haydn, Thelonious Monk, Duke Ellington, the Dixie Dregs, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. I mean, each has their own thing to say, and I think hopefully what we'll see classical music in the future, and just look at the lineage of all the musicians through history. The stuff that's happening right now is very important, but not knowing what's happened before us has been, would be an error of omission.
Well, on that note, I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you and Marilyn are working on now. If you can talk a little bit about your latest project.
Sure, I'd be happy. And also, I've got a question here. Are there any modern composers that you might place among the classical masters? Absolutely. And without committing an act of hubris, I'll leave myself out of it. But I could also very much point to William Alaudin Matthew, one of my teachers. He's written several works that Meryl and I have performed. He's also written what's becoming regarded widely as the harmonic Bible. It's entitled Harmonic Experience, and it's about this thick. And if you read it properly, it'll take you about 10 years, and then you can throw it down the well. So yeah, he would definitely qualify as a modern classical master. My wife, I do get to brag about her, and thank you for the lead-in. I would qualify her as a modern classical master. In fact, in honor of a work, I've worn my T-shirt, or my polo shirt, Always Remember. This is her magnum opus, really. And in fact, she's been working on this project for over 20 years. And to give people an idea of how could you spend 20 years on a work, in this musical, which is about 3 hours long, including the intermission, just under, there's 24 songs, and only one of them she's used derivative material. She took a Chopin etude, the E major etude, opus 10, number 3, you can look it up, and she scored a women's trio over this piece, and it's phenomenal. The counterpoint, the way she's taken the narrative and put it into over the Chopin etude, I really can say, not just because she's my wife, but she really brilliantly took that challenge on to add to an existing Chopin piece and not detract from the work. Also, there are probably, we counted about 40 discrete pieces of incidental music that she created to make transitions between the pieces. Plus, of course, she wrote the dialogue and the lyrics, and I was her Gringo Radar. I call myself the Gringdar. She would bring things to me and bounce things off to me, and I would give her the best input that I could in terms of what I think somebody in Nebraska or California or anybody else who wasn't immediately involved in the Latin culture, how they would respond. And she took all that information and she created Always Remember. And sadly, we were set to do the world premiere of this work with 45 actors, singers, dancers, a stage orchestra of 14 players, several technicians. There was about 100, and Lily, our visual arts director, included in this. There were probably close to 100 people who were getting ready to put this up. And sadly, we had to make the call to postpone the show indefinitely. It was supposed to premiere March 26th. We had to make the call on March 11th. So it's my sincere hope that this magnum opus of hers will see the stage as soon as possible. We'll be working towards that.
Yeah. No, I know, and I wanted to make sure that you mentioned it because there's so many performances that were postponed, canceled, so many organizations that have been involved, not only locally, nationwide, worldwide, that were all put on hold. So we're in really strange times. I don't know if Regine or Claudia have any questions for you.
I have another one here on the chat. What is your creative process when composing? Once again, that's a long topic, but let me see. Reader's Digest version is that I'm a pianist. I get frequently out, and I'm also an improviser, which means I make up stuff at the piano. And I like to think of the process of improvisation to composition. It's a slider. because when you start with an improvisation and you craft it and refine it and you transcribe it, it becomes a composition. Now, a good composition, if it really works, should sound like an exciting narrative. It should sound like a story unfolding. So you also have to kind of give it the test. Does it feel like an improvisation? Does it feel like something that, wow, what's around the next corner? Something's exciting. So frequently what I'll do is I'll take improvisations, I'll sketch them out, and you know, do certain processes. If it's just a piano, say just a piano piece, or perhaps I'm thinking it's a piano and violin. Frequently too, I'll be composing for an ensemble. We work with several. You've heard the Unconservatory Festival Orchestra, which also includes flute player, drummer, and one piece that I actually added a glass harmonica to. And of course, you know, I play one piano, four hands, and two pianos with my wife, and we have a four piano ensemble, or two piano, eight hands ensemble with the UNPQ, the United Nations Piano Quartet. So frequently I'll have in mind an ensemble and a performing situation in mind when we're creating. So you're aiming for goals. You have to put yourself on a timeline. Okay, is this going to be ready in time for us to learn the piece sufficiently so that we can perform it? Lately, during the time of the coronavirus, I can say that I've created a piece entitled Blessings, which is on our Facebook page, Sharing Our Blessings. It's free to the world to share. It's for one piano, four hands, and we have a friendly competition to see who could submit the first video, which would constitute the world premiere.
Good. Can you mention the website, your website, the Always Remember website, and
Absolutely.
the website where they can actually listen to some of these works and to the recording that we just heard?
Sure. Our public sampler website, if you will, is on Reverb Nation. You go to www.reverbnation.com. That's reverbnation.com/KWMM. And there are several examples of different pieces that we've written and performed together. Also the musical, to check out some samples of that. And you can also see some of the personalities who we are still planning to employ when we get this on a stage. And the musical's website is alwaysremembermusical.com. Make sure you don't forget musical there, alwaysremembermusical.com.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm glad you honored us with your presence and your genius. Thank
Pleasure.
you, Kirk. And I guess we go in and out. I missed the last thing you said. But
I say I'm in great company, very, very, very happy.
good. My blessings to you. Stay safe. My hellos and the same to Marilyn Morales. Stay safe. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks a lot. And I'm texting in too, since Claudia put the Reverb Nation. There is the musical up there as well for people to see. Thank you, Lulia. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regine.
I asked my questions in the chat. That was me. That's why I didn't want to interrupt and forget them. So
Yeah, oh, that's great.
Great questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time, both of you.
A pleasure. Okay.